both of you for being here. This is extremely important discussion, and we appreciate your participation. Gentlemen, Colin Powell has said the military was the only institution in America where, and I quote, the only thing that counted was courage, where the color of your guts and the color of your blood was more important than the color of your skin, unquote. With that in mind, do teachings like critical race theory that is incredibly divisive and propose, and I quote again, the only remedy to past discrimination is present discrimination. The only remedy to present discrimination is future discrimination, unquote. Look, I'm all for reading and considering opposing views, and I think we all agree with that. As the chairman of the Joint Chiefs has said, but this is intentionally divisive. And my question, Mr. Undersecretary, for you is, how do you expect a soldier or a sailor to fight for this country when they're being taught that it's not worth fighting for?
Thank you. It's not my understanding is that we are not teaching people critical race theory. We're not, as you described, things are being offered up to consider, but not being imposed on people as official department policy to think a certain way.
Are we funding that in any way at all?
Not that I'm aware of.
It's my understanding that this is on recommended reading, and it's even being taught in some classes at some of our institutions, some of our military institutions.
It's quite possible that books are on reading lists. Yes, that doesn't mean that it's department policy to make people believe a certain way.
I understand that, but is it being taught? That's my question. And is it being financed to be taught?
I would have to get back to you for the record of what's being taught. I'm not in charge of professional military education. Can you get back to me on the record for that? Certainly.
I'd appreciate that very much. If indeed, Mr. Undersecretary, this is the case, how would that affect our future recruitment of an all-volunteer force if this type of teaching to our children to hate America and it's not worth fighting for? What impact do you think that would have?
I'm sorry, are you asking about if it's taught in the military or if it's taught elsewhere?
If this is the type of reading that we're recommending, that our military is recommending, if this is being taught, and you're going to find that out, and you're going to respond to me in writing as if it is or if it isn't. But if it is being taught, do you think this would have an impact on us trying to recruit future volunteers?
I believe that Secretary Austin's priority is to make sure that the force is inclusive and that the leadership of the force reflects the diversity that's already in the force. So I think that we're actually moving in a good direction on this. I don't know that the issue you're describing will move the needle one way or the other on who chooses to join the force. It's a complex issue, as you know. Recruiting and retention is a specialized field, and we compete with private sector. The services compete with each other, so it's certainly a complex challenge.
So we certainly should be concerned about what's being taught in our military institutions and what is being taught in our military and what is being recommended for them to read. Would you agree with that if recruiting, as you indicate, is so very important?
Again, I don't know that what's being taught at West Point or some other places
but my
is
question
crucial
is
to this issue.
My question is, wouldn't it be important for us to make sure that we're not including things such as this in our recommended reading? Wouldn't it be very important for us in the future in the future recruitment of volunteers to make sure that we're making it clear that this country is worth fighting for and that we're not indeed proposing divisive material like critical race theory?
I certainly agree this country's worth fighting for, and I don't believe the department teaches otherwise.
Okay. It's my understanding that according to a September 2020 memo, executive agencies spent millions of dollars on training, claimed that there was racism embedded in the belief that America is the land of opportunity, or the belief that the most qualified person should receive a job, and other tenets of what is known as critical race theory. Do you know how much the Department of Defense has spent on this type of teaching, or if they have at all?
I would have to get back to you for the record on whether there is, on particular costs, a particular type of training or reading.
Okay. I appreciate your willingness to get back with me, Mr. Undersecretary. I appreciate your willingness to answer these questions. I look forward, great anticipation, your written response to this. Thank you, sir, and I yield back.
Gentleman's time is